Good afternoon. Can you tell your name, what you're doing, and what year were you born?
My name is Cindy Lee. I am a health administration major at Texas State, and I was born in 1992 here in Texas.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your background, who your dad, and how he came here to the United States?
My father was a South Vietnamese soldier. He worked against the Viet Minh administration. He was put in prison, or I guess reform camps, during his army years, and he was in prison for 13 years. After 3 attempts of trying to escape, he finally escaped his 3rd attempt and was able to come to America through my aunt in 1990.
Did your dad tell you a lot about what he did in the war, during the war, or in the war itself? Or did he tell you anything about that nature?
Only when I asked questions, I could tell that it was hard for him to talk about. He was in prison for so long, and he only fought for such a small amount of time that it was mainly what his friendships and his relationships through those camps. He met his closest friends through being in that camp, and together they still had the same mindset. Just the mindset was just trying to survive and get through the camps and to go back home to family.
What was your question like when you asked him?
Mostly when I asked him questions when I was going through my history classes, we had a short amount of time learning about the Vietnam War, and I was just curious because it was such a big part of my history and my family that I asked him questions. Oh, is this true? What is the U.S. books missing? What else was need to be told? Because there was such a small part that we learned, and the history was such a big portion, and they only covered so much. It was such a small, almost maybe a chapter. So there was definitely a lot of questions to be asked, but the textbooks didn't have answers. You had to look for people.
Well, whatever the textbook had, is it had any discrepancy with what you heard from people like your dad or people who came from Vietnam?
I feel like with the textbooks, they just kind of either gave you the main idea of there was a war, or this person died. It wasn't so much how it happened or why it happened. It was just, this just happened. And I feel like a lot of U.S., especially school textbooks and high school textbooks, a lot of things are just sugar-coated. They just give you just the main idea, and that's all you need to know. But there's such a big history behind it, and there's a reason for things, and there's a reason that it happened. And I feel that a lot of the textbooks, they don't tell you why. They just tell you what. And we need to know why. We need to know why things happen, to learn from our mistakes. And I feel like the textbooks don't tell you that, especially when you're still learning in high school, and especially in college as well. You have such a big amount of information crammed into a small amount of time, and they just kind of like to give you, oh, this is just what happened. But I think especially with the curiosity of our generation, we need to know why things happen.
Yeah, I need to ask you why it matters to you.
Why it matters to me. My father was in prison for 13 years. He lost 13 years of his life in these prisons, and it's important for me to know why he fought so hard for the freedom of his country. Why anyone fought so hard, and they stayed in those camps for so long. And even now, he still fights. Even in the U.S., he's sitting on his computer. He still fights for what he believes in, and if it's important to him, it's obviously important to me, because he's worked so hard for trying to free the people in the country. And I feel like when he passes, it's my job to take over and to try to finish what he started.
What do you think that about effort, or do you think that even needed to have the record straight, to have better textbook? What do you think that we need to do?
I think one of the big reasons, as I said before, is that they need to say why things happen. You know, things happen for a reason. This war took a huge effect, not just for my people, you know, for the Vietnamese, but for the U.S. I mean, obviously these things happen. We need to know why, and we need to know what can we do, what can we learn from this, because it is history. We need to know what we can do now, and I think that a lot of these textbooks, they need to, even though, you know, it might be more reading for the students, we need to know why things happen. It's important that, you know, this is someone's life. These are people's lives were fought and lost in this war, and we shouldn't take death, you know, so lightly, that, you know, people died for this, and it's important to know why. I think that's the big question, is why things happen.
Do you want to say anything that I didn't ask you and you want to share with us?
I feel that a lot of people's lives, even in the U.S., were affected by the Vietnam War, and I think that we need to be more curious about it. We need to know, again, why it happened, and we need to do something, because people are still affected by this. You know, Vietnam is now a communist country, and I think it's time for the people in Vietnam to have a bigger voice and to speak up and to say that, you know, is this what the people really want? Is this how such a big country should be run? And I think that it's mainly that the people in Vietnam need to have a voice, and we are a part of that voice. We are a part of their history, and I feel that over time we can give the people in Vietnam a voice to speak up to their government.
Well, thank you very much for your time and your enthusiasm. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.